Hey there folks, thanks for tuning in for another review. Today I'm looking at the Leatherman Brewzer Keychain pocket tool that you see before you. Now this was formerly sold by a company named Pocket Tool X, and they had several different keychain tools sold under that brand name. If you go look them up online, you'll still see all of them. Well, that brand was sold to Leatherman, including all their different tools that they had. So Leatherman now makes the Pocket Tool X tool line, and I'm not sure if all of the models are out, but if you go to Leatherman's website or if you just go do an online search, you can find all the different tools and all the different options. But those are now going to all be produced by Leatherman, and some of the materials might be a little bit different, like the steel that's used or the finish that's on the tools, but other than that they're pretty much identical to the Pocket Tool X counterparts. So previously the Leatherman, let me back out here a little bit with my camera. Previously the Leatherman Brewzer, formerly known as the Pocket Tool X Brewzer, was offered in a couple different variations. It looked the same as this, same size, same thickness, same everything, but they came in a stonewash finish and then also a darker steel finish called smoke. And currently Leatherman just makes the stonewash finish, which you see here. And it's rather attractive. I really do like the stonewash finish. It's got a nice rugged, kind of hard use look to it. You know, not too shiny, nothing that's going to get scratched up. It's already got a little bit of wear to it, so that's rather appealing. And you can see that it's very, very small. Now I've had this for about 2 months. I purchased this at the end of December 2012, and I've been carrying it on my keys along with my other daily keychain tools. And I've been trying this out alongside those to see how it works, and I'm pretty happy with it. So the short answer, I'll tell you right up front, is that it's a nice tool, fairly inexpensive, and I do recommend it. So the way that this was originally billed by Pocket Tool X was that it was a 5-in-1 or a 6-in-1 tool. They claimed that it had a slotted, and these are all the functions are still the same, but it's a little bit different in how it's marketed. So Pocket Tool X would tell you that it had a slotted screwdriver, which it does, and that this also was used as a pry bar, a little mini pry edge there. That it also included a box ripper notch, which is that little sort of bird beak, sort of hawkbill action that you see right at the end of the pry tool. That it was a bottle opener, which is here. That's also a 1/4-inch hex socket, and then finally it has an oxygen wrench / key ring or lanyard hole right here that you see at the end that's shaped like a bottle, like a glass bottle. I guess in this case it would be a beer bottle, which is why they call it the Brewzer, also referring to, you know, being able to open your favorite bottle of brew with the bottle opener. Now Leatherman themselves simply states this as a 2-in-1. So the only two tools that they mention are the bottle opener and the mini pry bar. They make no mention of being able to use this as a flathead or slotted screwdriver. They make no mention of the hex driver or the hex socket, and they make no mention of the oxygen wrench. So I'm not really sure why they decided to sort of omit those from their tool list on their website and on the marketing materials, but they did. So they call it a 2-in-1, and I think this is every bit a 6-in-1 tool. So have no fear as far as those tools not being advertised. They do work quite well. So let me give you some specs real quick, and then I'll just get into a little bit of my opinion on it. It is 3.4 millimeters thick, or just over 1/8 of an inch thick. So it's got a decent thickness to it. It's actually a little bit thicker than the pry bar that I'm used to carrying on my keys, and I'll get to a comparison there shortly. But nice and thick. It's a little under 2.5 inches long from end to end, or right around 63 millimeters for those of you who are interested in the metric dimensions. Weight is a 1/2 ounce, or just over 14 grams. And it's made from heat-treated stainless steel. And I would say it's probably very likely that this is 420 series steel, 420HC or 420J, something in that neighborhood. I couldn't say for sure. Leatherman themselves only lists it as high-grade heat-treated stainless steel. But I wouldn't have any worries about the the overall effectiveness of it. Considering its size and what you're going to use it for, this steel is going to hold up and pretty much last you forever. This will probably be around long after you are. And texturing, we've got a little bit of jimping on both that, I don't know if you'd call it the top edge, I suppose, along the long edges, and then a little bit more, as you can see, along the bottom there, and it is pretty grippy, pretty comfortable. Now, as far as overall comfort, it's pretty good. And the one thing I was really surprised about is how it functions as a bottle opener. Now, Leatherman themselves will tell you that the bottle opener function, the way they advertise it is that you only need to pry once to get the bottle cap up. I've used this several times with some bottles, and that is true. It will pry your bottle cap up in one pry, and it does not take a lot of effort. This is a bottle opener that, you know, I would recommend to someone to be comfortable in using it on several bottles. You've probably heard me on other reviews say the bottle opener, you know, like for instance, let me grab here from the side, on the Leatherman Squirt, the little bottle opener they give you on here, it's functional, but you will sometimes have to pry a few times around the edge of the bottle cap to get it to come free. And the thickness of this tool and the stoutness of it just means you can just pop that off of there in one shot. So that works really, really well, and it's pretty comfortable to hold as you're doing that prying, and that's where the two little areas of jimping are very likely to come into play, is as you've got that up underneath the cap, your thumb's going to rest up here to give you some leverage. So that works really well. Now, as far as it being a box opener, one of the reasons Leatherman may not have mentioned it in their marketing materials is because it works okay, and you could in fact sharpen this, thin down the tip to where it was a little bit more aggressive when cutting through tape or tearing through a little bit of cardboard, but it's not something you would want to do for an extended period of time. You could kind of look at this as sort of an upgraded version of just using one of your keys off of your key ring in order to rip through the tape, as I'm sure some of you, like myself, have done in the past. So this would kind of be a little bit of an upgraded version. You're not chewing up your key or wearing down the the milling along the key edge. You use this instead. Works okay. I wouldn't want to do it all day long. So if you're popping boxes all day long, get a box cutter, get a knife. Don't really plan on using this because it's not going to be that effective. Now, the way that you would hold it if you were to tear through a box, or at least the way I would recommend, is to hold it just like you would a car key. Put your fingers on the sides and kind of pull through that way, rather than trying to use it in this fashion, because what you'll find is that this little bottle opener / hex driver is going to dig into your finger if you try and do it that way, and that would become quickly uncomfortable trying to do that all day long. So it works pretty well, but again, I wouldn't want to use it all day, every day, constantly. Get something better suited to the task. Now, the slotted screwdriver works just fine. I've used it on a few light little tasks around the house, and I've used it at work a couple times on some of our work equipment, and that little slotted screwdriver works perfectly well. Not a whole lot to it, but works just as advertised, or in this case, not advertised by Leatherman. Now, the pry bar is probably, in my eyes, the weakest of its functions. This is going to work fine for popping open paint cans, getting up under the little pop top on a soda can, and maybe prying up some light office staples. But any of the heavier duty tasks that you might want to use a mini pry bar for, because this is so short and because it is straight without a little bit of a bend in it, it's just not very effective for it. So very small basic prying tasks, scraping tasks, this is going to work well. Anything bigger, if you're pulling up industrial staples, if you're prying up tacks or maybe small finishing nails or something like that, go for something else. This one's not really going to cover you in that way, at least not very well in my experience. It's very small. It's really unobtrusive. It carries beautifully on your keys. Throw this on your key ring, completely forget about it. Just for a quick size comparison, here is the SwissTech Utility, which is just a little bit longer than your standard house key or car key, but about the same thickness. And you can see those are pretty similar as far as their overall thickness, and pretty similar in length. And it just, you pop it in your keys and forget all about it, and every once in a while when you need it, it's there. Really reliable, really basic, but I think it's a good value, and it's never going to get in the way. I didn't find this little piece, the little bottle opener section, to snag on my pocket like some of these other smaller pocket tools have done in the past. So really, really comfortable. Just disappears on your key ring, and you forget about it till you need it. As far as overall strength, I mean, there's not really much to talk about. It's a big flat, or a small flat piece of steel. I think this thing's going to outlast just about everybody who owns one. I mean, there's really not much to it. It's like a spoon in your kitchen drawer. It's going to be there forever. Any prying tasks that you use it for aren't really going to threaten the integrity of the steel, because it's just too small to do any of those bigger tasks. So unless you're sticking this in a vise and smashing it sideways with your hammer, it's really, really strong, and it's going to hold up perfectly. It performs great for its size, as long as you're realistic in your expectations, of what you think it's going to do. I think that it's going to perform really, really well for most folks. It's never really going to serve as well as its full-size competition, but you know, all of the little tools that Leatherman and even previous to them Pocket Tool X, everything that they've advertised works well, works decently. You know, you're not going to be you know, taking a house apart with it or anything, or breaking your car down, but for all the little functions that are in there, I think that they work pretty nice. Overall fit and finish is really good. The grinds along the pry edge, this little portion right here, the little flat ground edge, can vary from one model to another. So some will have more ground off than others. So that, you know, I don't think it's going to be an issue. It's just a little bit of a variance from one to the next. But other than that, you know, the edges are nicely smooth, nicely finished. There's no scratchy or abrasive parts. I don't think there's any parts that are going to cut you. Even that little box ripper end isn't going to cut you at all because it's just not sharpened enough. Although, again, like I said before, you could sharpen it yourself. I did use it to break down several boxes while I was testing it out. Works fine for that. Again, I wouldn't want to use it all day, but works great. I really like Leatherman in general. If you've seen some of my past reviews of their tools, I'm really happy with their stuff. Again, they didn't design and invent these themselves, but you know, I think that these tools, the Pocket Tool X series, were a good choice for Leatherman, and you know, it's now backed by their 25-year warranty, so I think that's pretty cool too. So just a quick rundown of the pros and cons. My pros are that it's small, it's light, very comfortable to carry, very inexpensive, super convenient. You know, it's not going to get in the way, and it's there when you need it. It's nicely finished. It seems pretty much indestructible. You're not going to break it. Comes from a really great company, and the bottle opener, which is probably what Leatherman wants you to focus on as the main tool, works beautifully and reliably every time. If I had to pick any downsides, it would be that the pry tool doesn't work quite as well as, you know, some of the other keychain alternatives. It's a little on the short side, you know, because of the narrowness of it in all dimensions. It might be a little bit of a downside for folks that have larger hands. Even in my medium to large hands, it's a little bit on the diminutive side, and because of that, again, there also might be a little bit of comfort issues as far as the jimping that's on it and the bottle opener section, as far as how you decide to hold it and how long you're going to use it for. That might affect, you know, your comfort as well, but not really. It's pretty much available everywhere online, and you're going to pay about $10 for it. I wouldn't, if you're seeing a price higher than that, shop around, because I've definitely found it at several online retailers for right at $10. So if you can track it down somewhere, wait till somebody's got free shipping, you're home free. $10, you can't beat it. So I do definitely recommend it. I think it's fun. I like that, you know, kind of similar to the SwissTech Utility that I showed you here, and I'll bring that back in there. It's inexpensive, and I think that everybody should have one. It's hard not to recommend, unless, like I said, you are mainly going for a pry tool. Then I would say pick something like maybe the widgie bars, and I would definitely recommend that you choose one of the widgie bars that has the bend in it, like this one that you see here. So now I'm just going to show you some quick size comparisons. And if you need a bottle opener, you know, there's the bottle opener on the SwissTech Utility. It works, it's serviceable, but it's not very effective, and that's where the Brewzer really comes into play, is that it's really, really effective. There's a little Victorinox Classic. I'm trying to bring in a lot of different pocket tools that you might have. I think that's a pretty good swath of tools that you might have on hand that you could kind of compare it to. And probably the most curious, or the most common request is probably going to be to see these two side by side. So that is the widgie bar. Now this is the 3-inch widgie bar next to that 2.5-inch Brewzer there. And between the two, if you were going for mainly dedicated prying and scraping tasks, I would choose the widgie bar every time. But if you need a good bottle opener with an, you know, some bonus tools included, with that little slotted driver, with the hex driver, which I think I've got, let me see if I've got, I had to run off and find it real quick, but I knew it was somewhat nearby, but I've got a little set of hex bits right here, and I can just show you real fast how it does lock into place pretty well. And if you were to hold the bit in place with your thumb, you could definitely use that in a pinch to tighten down some stuff, get a little bit of leverage there, or depending on, you know, how you had it sitting, that would work just fine. So there's that little option in action, which I have not used. I don't really, I mean, that's just kind of a tough way to use a hex tool, but I guess if you had the bit lying around and you desperately needed a driver, that would cover you. There's a Swiss Army Classic next to it. Leatherman Squirt, Leatherman Micra, and finally a Leatherman Style CS. So definitely proud to have this in my little family of Leatherman tools. That's it. That's the review. I'm sorry I repeated myself on so many points along the way. It's just one of those things that, you know, when I'm doing, you know, quite a bit of this review is kind of off the cuff as usual, and so I tend to repeat myself. So forgive me for that. But again, I did just want to drive home that it's inexpensive. It works great. If you need a dedicated pry tool, a little mini tool, get yourself a widgie bar instead or something else. If you just want a little good all-arounder, something to throw in your keys, and if you're popping a bottle, you know, at least once a day, I'd say that the Leatherman Brewzer would make a great addition to your keyring. So there you have it, my review of the Leatherman Brewzer pocket pry bar and bottle opener. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.